Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about anti-gravity batteries. You should be checking out an anti-gravity battery for your bike if you have some special needs with respect to your battery. We'll get to that in just a moment. As far as what these things are going to fit, just about every single bike can use an anti-gravity battery. You're going to have to do a little bit of work to make these things get in there in some situations. However, this will work with just about any 12-volt motorcycle. If you're not rocking something real old on a 6-volt system, you should be set to fly. Installation on these, I'm going to call somewhere between a 1 and 2 beards on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty. Most of you who are able to use tools and figure out how to glue some stuff down and install a battery should be able to do this with absolutely no sweat on your end. Let's get right into things. So just as a quick intro to who Antigravity is, they're designing batteries in the US, they're making them here in the US, and they're using lithium ion technology. It's a totally different form of battery powered delivery. Let's talk a little bit about that real briefly. Without going into a whole long diatribe about electricity, you should know that a battery with a lithium ion core basically has different guts inside the battery itself than your standard lead acid setup. They're great at delivering a big hit of power up front, they're exceedingly small, and they're very light. Now you should be considering one of these really if you're in a scenario where you need that stuff. So mainly I see most people looking for something like this if they're in one of 3 categories. If you're a racer, you need to shed weight. Shedding weight is just as good as making your bike quick. And a battery by Antigravity is one of the most cost-effective ways to dump weight from your motorcycle. You can see how small these are. What you can't see is how light they are. But again, I'm picking them up with 2 fingers. These things are very, very light. Moving on to folks who need a small battery. I'm thinking specifically of folks who are probably putting together a motorcycle. You're trying to clean up a stock sort of a motorcycle. Choppers, cafe guys, you guys who are trying to clean up your motorcycle and make it look nice. Oftentimes you pare that bike down to only its bare essentials, and something like a large battery is going to stick out like an absolute sore thumb. Antigravity can help you solve that problem. The third class of folks I could see also needing something like this are folks who are putting together monster motors. If you're putting together a chopper with some huge inch, 120 plus inch motor, or maybe you have a dirt bike that's a bare essentials sort of thing, and it's got only enough battery on the thing to just barely get it started, and anti-gravity can save your bacon. Because lithium ion technology, again, delivers lots of starting juice right up front, you might be able to pack a little bit more battery punch into your motorcycle. So when you're looking at an anti-gravity battery, there really are 2 flavors that you're gonna see. You're gonna see their small case series. You can see here we have some small case 4 cells, some small case 8 cells, and then they also have OEM case sizes. And these are gonna be a little bit different, a little more stock geared. Let's talk about the small case stuff first. Small case stuff, again, racers, chopper guys, I expect you guys to be interested in these. They're teeny tiny. Look at this. This is a battery that is cranking out 120 cranking amps. This thing's like the size of 2 packs of cigarettes. They're absolutely itty bitty. You can jump up to the 8 cell, again, 240 cranking amps. This is still an absolutely tiny battery. This is lots and lots of starting power. To give you a sort of a comparable, I've got a similarly sized lead acid battery in an old shovel head I run. The thing barely runs the lights. It doesn't have much of a job to do. This will actually start up a shovel head. It's really, really cool how much starting technology they pack into these puppies. Now moving down to the other side of things here, you can see, again, this is an OEM case battery. So this is going to be good for those of you who have a motorcycle that's reasonably close to stock. You're running a stock battery box, and instead of necessarily wanting to cut down your battery size, instead you want to stick with your factory box, your factory cable setup. But what this is going to let you do is get lots and lots of starting juice and shed some weight in the exact same footprint as that factory battery. So realistically, you're going to choose either a small case or an OEM case based upon what it is that you're looking to do. I would imagine most of the folks we're going to see coming to RevZilla for these probably pushing a race bike, probably going to be reasonably similar to stock. You're probably not ripping the entire thing apart. I imagine we're going to sell a fair amount of the OEM case batteries to you guys. Again, this is going to get your bike started up. It's going to lighten your bike quite a bit. Look at how light this thing is. I mean, this is really a light battery. Try doing that with your standard lead acid battery. Your hands are going to be sore after you pick those things up. All of the battery choices you see up here, again, going to deliver that big hit of upfront starting power. Going back to you guys building monster motors, I know a lot of the times you just can't get the juice to your starter to turn your bike over. If you've got something like this, it is going to work well for you. Big hit of upfront starting power. However, lithium ion batteries are not for everybody. Let's talk about some of the folks who might not want to look into some of these, because that's just as important as trying to get you into one of these, is making sure also we don't sell you one of these and that's something you don't need. So if your bike is something that you're going to be starting constantly, constant starts and stops, it can drain these. Even though these give you that big hit of starting power up front, what they don't necessarily do is have a bunch of capacity. So the amp hour ratings on these are probably going to be a little bit lower than your standard lead acid or AGM battery. Keep that in mind if you have a bike that's really out of tune. If you're constantly having to restart your motorcycle, thing doesn't run that well, a lithium battery might not be the best choice for you. You should probably also not use these if you're doing lots of cold weather riding, perhaps those of you guys running around in snowmobiles. Sometimes lithium batteries can take a little while to wake up to get rocking and rolling, so just keep that in mind. For those of you guys who are planning on using these in more of a daily rider category, I don't know that it's absolutely necessary for you to use them, but what I would do is sort of mirror Antigravity's recommendation. If you're going to use this in a daily rider sort of a situation, a bike that you actually are depending on to get you from place to place, rather than go with something small case and try and get that tiny form factor, I would lean towards probably more of an OEM case footprint and try and get the most bang for the buck as you can. Try and get the most cranking amperage you can so you've got as much battery in there as you can, even with a very large OEM case battery. Again, this is a 720 cranking amp battery. Feel how light this is. You're still going to get the benefit. You're getting that weight savings, but you're also going to make sure that you have a battery that's really reliable for you for the long haul. Now let's talk about installation on these for just a moment. Installation on these is differing, is going to differ for you whether you choose, again, that small case sort of a setup or you're going with that OEM case. Those of you guys with the OEM case setup, this should be pretty easy for you. This thing is made to factory stock battery dimensions, so it should bolt right in. The only work you may have to do, because these terminals may be slightly different than what's on your bike, you may have to re-engineer your terminal ends, possibly reroute some cables, but for the most part, this should be a drop-in installation for most of you. I'm going to call it a one-bearder. It should be very simple. Move down here again into some of the small case options. Things get a little bit hairier. It might not be a hard install, but it might be different than stock. You're not going to have a manual to go by. You're going to have to reroute some cables. You're going to have to develop terminal ends that are going to work with this battery. And you're also going to have to use something like this anti-gravity battery foam. Now this stuff comes with every single battery. The reason they're selling this to you with your battery is so you can pad your box, keep it vibration free, give your battery the best chance at long life. You should know though, if you are shopping for a bike, you're putting something together, even if you wind up not going with an anti-gravity battery, you can buy this stuff separately too. I've used it on a couple of my bikes. I really do like this stuff. It works very well. You should just know that it's great at sucking up vibration. Again, it's part of the installation process. Whether you're going with a whole anti-gravity setup or you're just putting a battery into your bike and you're going to change up the size of it, just be aware that with any of the small case options, you've got a little bit of custom fabrication work to do. So if you're not super familiar with that stuff, have a buddy handy who is. But again, nothing more difficult than a two-beard on our BSD. I love anti-gravity batteries. When you have to run a small battery in the chopper world, anti-gravity really is the first name. That's kind of where I come from, and I know that a lot of our racers here at RevZilla absolutely love these things for track use. I think Buzzsaw has one in absolutely every one of his bikes. However, our opinion here at RevZilla is not the only game in town. Click that info button, educate yourself a little bit on anti-gravity batteries, see if these are going to do the job for you. If you've got a question with respect to fitment or installation, something I haven't covered up here, get in touch with one of our gear geeks, cs@revzilla.com, or you can always give us a jingle on the telling bone, 877-792-9455. We'll get you a friendly gear geek willing to help you out. As always, I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.